Hey, yo, how's it going, everyone? Entropy here.
Bamboo here.
And we did a thing.
Woo!
Woo! Thing! Yeah. So, last weekend was Toronto BCS 24-25. This is one of the last BCSs, and we've been waiting a long time. So, we were super excited. If you're already subscribed to the channel, you must have seen us in our run at Vancouver. So, at Vancouver, I got top 8 in standard, and my brother Bamboo got top 8 in premium. This time around, our roles reversed. He got first in standard, and I pulled off first in premium. So it's pretty nuts. If you are here for the standard portion of the video, which is what it's supposed to be, we're just going to go straight to Bamboo's run, going through the matchups, going through any insights, going through the list, and then in the next video, which you should obviously watch because it's about me, we're going to go through the premium side of things and my run. And then of course, when I stop procrastinating, we'll go through the vlog as well, going through editing and all that. So you will get a glimpse of my standard run too, and my insights and experience firsthand during the day. It was definitely a very rocky 2 days, and this was very unexpected. So it's probably really cool to see and probably a little bit ugly, but we will see how things turn out. But yeah, so stick around. Let's talk Bamboo, Standard, Vanguard, BCS 24-25 champion.
Woo!
Winner lap. Let's go.
I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best.
Oh my god, you're the best, bro. Holy sh**.
Probably got my piece of
Holy
paper.
shit.
Okay, wrong crowd, but yay! Yay! Good job. How do you feel?
Great.
Great?
So happy. Yeah.
First trophy.
Insane. I'm going to Japan for free! Hey guys, Bamboo here for Standard in Toronto. We had roughly around 400 people or so. We capped out. We were able to get the top 32 prizing. So for top 32, it was a now generator. It was a type B. We had the top 8 mat, which is the Storkea OT. For top 4, we were able to get the Storkea OT with the Valnut text. And then for the first place prizing, we were able to get a trophy, which is pretty cool. The deck I brought to BCS Toronto was actually very strange for me and to other people. It was Prison. The reason why I chose Prison was because I thought it had a really good matchup into specifically Resile, and a somewhat decent matchup into Overdress, which unfortunately I saw too many of that I'm probably traumatized at this point. So to quickly explain my deck, obviously you have the generic ride line with the 0-1, with the 1, 2, and 3. And for the starter, I chose to play Archetype because I thought it'd be really funny to give some people a heart attack with Batman, because every Bat player would run this starter. And then now for the main deck, you have 3 of the Grade 4s. This is more than enough because you shouldn't ever need 4, and you have security upgraders anyway. I run 2 of Penetrate Aquas because I think she's a really good card with the guard restriction, and also being able to prison from drop. 2 Taser Leech. Taser Leech I think is the best card in this deck, next to Lightful Warrior, because she's able to completely shut down any Resile players, and also whenever Overdress tries to revive their Sharpnet or on-falls from the order zone or drop, you can immediately rest it and they lose an attack unless they want to revive it again. Because you play 2 Grade 3s and a Grade 4, Forbidal is a great option. Twin Cats is also great, but I chose Forbidal because I wanted to search for the Taser Leech just in case I get into the Resile matchup. Then for the Grade 2s, you run 3 of this girl. She's great because she can bot deck Sharp Nets, on falls if your opponent gives you them from hand with your Grade 2 ride line. If they give you cards from drop, you can bot deck them too. And overall, it's just a great way to control your opponent and make them think differently from how they would usually play. Then you run 4 of the Restanders. This is one of the really good cards because it gives a lot more pressure than what there was originally for Prison, and lets you draw a card, which is really big because the deck doesn't really draw by itself. You run Explosive Melting Heart. It's a great blitz order. It counters Vargo completely because Vargo resets twice. then you give them negative power for the entire turn. Next, you have 2 of the girls that are basically perfect guards into grade 2s or less. This is an anti-Rezal card, because Rezal runs a lot of grade 2s, and you can rest their Gabrielius with Taser Lage. And it also works well into Levidrass, because with their Squirrel column, it's usually a grade 2, like Fox or Huli or Onfall or whatever, and this can completely block that 70,000 column, which is ridiculous. Next, your best card in the deck, Lifeful Warrior. This card will let you Counter Blast 1, prison a card, and then top 5. This is how you get your pieces. This is how you get extra cards in prison. This lets you draw a card. It just helps you and helps this deck function perfectly. Security Upgrader, of course, you need to get to grade 4. And then you have 3 Munas, which just help you draw a card. Because again, this deck doesn't really draw aside from the grade 2. So this just helps you get more cards in hand. Then you have your Perfect Guards. You have Sanctitude, the specific one, because you have a great triple drive Vanguard, your Prison, and then for the triggers, you have your Brancade over trigger. You have 8 crits, which I think is pretty standard. Some lists can run 7, but I feel like 8 is just important because sometimes you don't necessarily get to 10 cards in prison, especially with the Levidrass matchup. Then you have 3 draws, because again, the deck doesn't draw, so you need to draw into your pieces more, and then 4 heals.
Okay, so some quick questions before we move on to the matchups of the day and all that. Let's go through the list, right?
Yes.
So I think one of the very common questions at the very beginning of D, like when we first started playing the game, was like, oh, hey, for the crits, right? Like, why affect crits? Like, do you think it matters in this matchup? Did it actually ever come in play? Like, would the vanilla crits actually be better because it's like 1k more?
So for me, I feel like the effect crits are actually very solid. A lot of people are like, oh, you have so much soul anyway, so like, what's the point? In my opinion, sometimes when you use Lifeful Roar and you don't see any valid targets, hitting that effect crit actually changes a lot. Because now your Vanguard gets an extra 4k booster when you swing 14,000 into their 8k base at grade 1 Vanguard. And then for the next turn, you could have a column where you have a, let's say, you have this girl and another grade 1 in the back row. If you have the crit and the Vanguard on behind the Vanguard, you can attack, boost, put this in soul, give this plus 2k, and now this is swing for 35,000 instead of 33 to their 10k base.
Damn.
The number difference makes them give you an extra 5k shield.
Yeah.
And even if they have defensive, they can't give you a 15k shield anymore. They'll have to give you a 20k shield, which it's a front trigger, right? But in most cases, what's the chance they have a front trigger that early on?
True. How about the numbers? Like a lot, like when you talk through the deck, you didn't really mention how Corner Citrus gets like 10k,
Yes.
or Lifeful gets 5k, or Muna gets 5k. Do you think these, obviously these numbers matter, but how important are these numbers and how do you use them compared to like other prison players maybe?
So for me, at Top Cut especially, it kind of clicked to me that I think it's pretty much common knowledge that Levidrass cannot guard early game, right? All of their card pieces are very important and they can't really sacrifice anything. So it's super important that you just rush them straight out of the gate. And if you go first, this just makes your life so much easier because all your numbers are hitting for magic numbers. If you start the game off with Taser Lage, which is really important, you can use Taser Lage to get a grade 2 or grade 1, and then you can call the rest of your hand out. So one of the most generic boards I had was 1 or 2 Taser Lages with a security upgrader because they don't retire. And then I also have, let me look for that grade 1, I had Muna in the other back row. So what happens is I would swing for 18 into 8,000. Obviously, they shouldn't give me a 15,000 because that's one to pass. And then if they don't hit defensive trigger, this swings for 23 because I should have 2 cards in prison, 1 from Vanguard skill and 1 from Corner Citrus. And then this would also swing for 23,000 to their 8,000 base. So most cards or most decks shouldn't have 20k shield in their first grade 1 turn. So this, assuming they don't hit any defensive triggers, should just deal 3 damage straight out of the gate. Against any Levidrass player, this should be very devastating, especially because when you go into your grade 3, now you're hitting for 2+1 drive, right? 3 checks total into their 3 damage Vanguard. That's completely lethal, and if they don't have a perfect guard, it's game over right there.
And is this how you won your top 4 match in 3 minutes?
Yes. So I did exactly what I did for grade 2, which is what I showed you. And then I swung with rear, I did 1 damage, I swung with van, and then I hit over trigger. I think even with a crit trigger, this would have killed him anyways because it was going to be 43,000 into his 10k base, which is
It's nuts.
nuts. Either he was going to die or he was going to start his turn with 2 cards in hand, which is unplayable.
That's pretty nasty. One last question. I think this is something that I definitely see from prison lists, which isn't really popular anymore anyways. But how do you feel about playing the hostage package with the banana guy and the order? And then why do you play the sanctitude instead of the 4th grade 1 PG? Because that's definitely an option that I think is definitely viable too.
Yes. So I'll first answer the perfect card question, right? With this order, it can help deal with a lot of guard restricts decks. So for instance, there was Luard, which was pretty common, I felt. A lot of people played Luard. One of my friends played Luard, and one of my rounds actually also was Luard. So having an order that can block their drag driver, I believe, or
The
drag driver,
second stride,
the second stride, yes,
ultimate stride, yeah.
is super important. And that's one of the main reasons I feel like, yeah,
Hostage package?
hostage package, yes. So I feel like hostage package is very nice because you get to survive, but at the same time, I would rather control my opponent's playstyle completely rather than playing the defensive style, which isn't great because with overdress, I feel like for them, the longer the game goes, the stronger and stronger they'll get because they'll just draw more and more cards with the infinity markers, right? With this current build, you get to control and make them think about what they want to put in prison. You get to get more cards from drop. You get to bot deck whatever important stuff they give you. You get to steal cards from their prison. If you fight into Rezal or Levidress with Taser Leech, which I don't think a lot of people play, you will completely shut down their plan, whatever it might be. You can rest their Squirrel. You can rest their Sharpnets, making them Soul Blast another for their other Sharpnet, so they don't have Soul for Squirrel. If they call stuff with their Rezal Vanguard skill to create a new column, you rest it, and that's one less attack for no reason.
Oh, sorry, just one last question, just because we're on this. I think Prison, compared to like when it first released, definitely had a lot more tools. And the craziest thing is like you don't even need to play the cards, and you're already playing mind games with them, right?
Exactly.
Like you don't even need to have this, and your opponent's already second thinking what they're putting in the prison already. Even if you play 0 of this, and then, you know, with this, you're forcing your opponent to think about superior calling. With this, you're forcing your opponent to think about whether they should rush you or not. With this, you're forcing your opponent to think about guard restricts, maybe even restanding and multi-attacks. There's even the other grade 3 that forces you to not be able to. There's a guard restrict as well there. So I think
there's also Muna, right? Which is huge because the moment if you have double Muna, now they have to think, should I even free anything at all? Because the moment you do, my opponent just draws 2 out of nowhere. And I can't stress this enough. Throughout the entire day with Muna, I drew into like 4 perfect cards across all the games, which saved my run, I think.
Damn. Okay. So I think that's about it. Just me as a perspective, I definitely think that this was a wild pick. This is not on a lot of people's radars, and I think that was part of the success. It's both a mix of the deck choice and the skill in the sense that a lot of the play is very off meta, for lack of a better word. It's definitely very chaotic to put your opponent in a position where they're expecting prison to be control. Suddenly you're aggroing them, or you know, you are playing some cards that can actually control them afterwards. You could damage deny them at any point. You could guard restrict them at any point. You can multi-attack them at any point. And you being able to make these choices throughout like every single game at every single point of the run is really, really impressive. So I don't think it's definitely the best deck. I think it's definitely not close objectively, but it's definitely about how you play it, and it was very, very cool to see you pick and decide to bring this deck. Okay, so let's talk about your day one. Let's talk about your rounds. You know, what decks did you play against?
So for round one was a buy because I had a buy card that I used in both Vancouver and Toronto. For round 2, it was Luard. I mentioned that earlier when I was talking about the Sanctitude. I won the dice roll and then I chose to go first because, frankly speaking, as long as you start the game with Lifeful Warrior, you can grade 2 game them and just punish them for going second, right? The moment they try to rush you in the early game, because Luard doesn't really... Luard plays a lot of grade 1s, so just create tri-lane. You steal them with Lightful, you create more board with it, and now you're punishing them with more by forcing them to use resources, right? The other thing I noticed mid-game was that because I kept stealing cards from their drop, they actually couldn't achieve their Ritual 7.
Oh, that's nuts.
So that was pretty funny. So he just kept going through their first stride, and then I just had Taser Lage in the front row, so the moment they tried to call anything, it just rested. So it was a 3-attack stride deck, which was really fun. Round 3, it was against a Levy Dress. That was the first Levy Dress of the day. I won the dice roll. I did the tri-lane strategy, but the issue was my opponent hit a 6 damage heal, and then on their drive check with Divine Skill, they hit a Storkaea OT. And then they gave the 100 million to the Squirrel, and then I just imploded. Round 4 was a Varga. I won the dice roll, and then I won the game. I honestly think the Varga matchup is really grindy and hard because they draw a lot of cards and they self-retire. So whenever you go into your grade 4, there's actually nothing to steal on board and in soul. So the whole game plan is you just want to keep getting more and more security upgraders and grade 4s in your hand. Each turn, you just get enough resources to survive. And then at some point, they'll run out of Karmablast and they'll run out of Soul, because Varga is a very resource-extensive deck. Once they do that, just try to survive, tuck it in, and then you should just win. With round 5, it was another Levy Dress. I lost the dice roll this time, but I still won. The main issue that the opponent had was that they didn't really know what Prison did, and I don't think this is very surprising because not a lot of people play Prison nowadays, or they are unfamiliar with the new cards. He didn't clear his soul, and then he just died because I was hooked to 10 Prison. With Hari, I lost dice roll, but again, I went first, which doesn't really matter to me. I had the early game completely down, and then because it's a Dark States deck, they have infinite soul, so I just used grade 4, steal 2 cards from soul, and then I had 10 cards in Prison again and just kill them. With round 7, which was very surprising, there was actually a Dolls player that played Nightmare Dolls. I believe that's the name. Or Direful Dolls.
Direful Dolls.
Yes. So I lost the dice roll again. I went second this time, but it wasn't too difficult because I was able to damage deny them, so they couldn't get anything on board while I was still grade 2. And then on turn 3, I rushed them back. And then turn 4, I just went to my grade 4, stole all their soul, their board, because they don't really clear themselves as much from draw from their hand, and then at that point it was just game over. There was nothing much they can do. After that, top cut. I had a very tough time because for all 5 of my top cut games, it was 5 Levy Dresses, which is ridiculous. I really expected to see a single Resile today because this deck I brought was to counter Resile, but there was none. With round 1 of top cut, I won the dice roll and then I tri-laned them, and then I got the 10 cards of Prison and killed them. I believe this is the same thing for most of top 16, top 8 as well. With top 8, I nearly lost to Stephen Lee, but with my triple drive, it was a draw into a heal, which helped me recover a lot of resources and perfect guards. And that helped me survive 1 more turn, and then went to grade 4, and then I finished them off there. With top 4, I mentioned this earlier, I got the OT, and then I blew them out the park. And for the last round, for the final round, I went second. I lost a dice roll. I nearly lost, but my opponent misplayed a few times because I think they were, again, unfamiliar with the Prison matchup. I bought like their Squirrels, so they never saw it. I bought like their Onfall, so they never saw it. And it took them a lot later into the game until they got all their pieces, but at that point, I already survived long enough and got enough cards in Prison where at turn 5 or 6, I finally got the 10 cards in Prison, and then I finished them off there.
Wow. Okay. So that's definitely quite the run. I'd say you're pretty 50-50 with the dice rolls.
Mm-hmm.
What changed between Vancouver and Toronto? I'd say the meta is definitely slightly different because we have the introduction of the new Stride deck sets, Hari and Night Rose. And you did see a Hari,
yes.
So that definitely came into play. Other than that, I don't think we really got any new additions to the standard meta.
Mm-hmm.
How did your perspective change? Between the time, and how did you land on this deck?
So when Entropy and I started playtesting, we actually started off with Prison, right? We were very convinced that Prison was great until we fell into a Levy Dress and got completely destroyed and our hopes got crushed. We swapped over to the other deck, which is Batman, Elegdema. I believe that's the name. We played that in Vancouver. Entropy got top 8. I lost the final round to get to top 8, so top 16, so I couldn't get in. But after that, I kind of realized that BAT wasn't as consistent as you hoped. Even if you compare it to other worlds and other BCSs, you can kind of see that BAT never actually got past top 8 in most cases. It got to top 16 or top 32, and then they all kind of fizzled out. So that kind of showed that while very aggressive and strong, there are very key problems to it. So I decided to go back and see if there are other decks that were fun, that was not Levy Drafts, because I did not want to play the meta, not the meta, sorry, the mirror. And I landed back on Prison. I played it a couple times in locals, I fall into Res Isles, I completely crushed them, and that kind of gave me the confidence that as long as I see enough Res Isles, I could easily get to top cut. And there was no Res Isles. Just a lot of dragons. And, you know, I guess practice with my friend who main Levy Drafts kind of helped a lot in what I expected.
Shout out to
Clinton, Mr. Wah.
Mr. Wah.
So that helped a lot.
And so I guess if you are a viewer of the Toronto run from last year, 2023, you're familiar that Bamboo got top 8 as well. And in that run, you were bringing Hexa Orb into 9 Gandivas the whole day. From round 1 to top 8, it was Gandiva the whole time.
Yeah.
And you went, your final record was X1 in Swiss, and then died in top cut.
Yes.
So you know, all our friends call you the Dragon Slayer. And unfortunately, the name lives on for better or worse.
It's not the greatest, but you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah. So now it's a Levy Slayer, which is pretty insane. Is there anything else you want to highlight or mention from your experience? Doesn't have to be, you know, necessarily about the game, but
yes. I feel like for everybody who's interested in playing Prison, I think honestly, definitely try the deck out. It's great. It has great control. As Entropy said, there's a lot of different things you can do, and also you can also mess with your opponent's head. And if you're that kind of player, honestly, just get the deck, try it out. I think it's going to be a great time. Obviously, it's not the best deck, even into Levy Drafts, if they know what they're doing. And if you don't get your pieces, it will be a complete wash for you. But at the same time, as long as the stars aligned, and as long as you don't give up with your game, there's always a chance for you to play, and there's always a chance for you to survive and keep going for the next turn and go and go and go until you somehow win. So basically, never give up.
That's an awesome way to end off this. So yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for your thought and the deck list and everything. Super excited to see you at Worlds. If you're watching this, Decklog down there, so you can follow along as we're talking through the list. And thank you so much.
Right. See ya. I did it. Congrats. I did what Jody couldn't.
Alright, come back.